Now, the roller coaster ride for Bitcoin seems to be on the way up after a near 40% slump recently. It is currently around the $16,000 mark after highs of about $20,000 last year. So here's a quick reminder of the journey so far.
Bitcoin has hit a financial milestone not reached in almost 4 centuries. It's taken over the title of biggest bubble in history for what was known as Tulip Mania in the Netherlands. Bitcoin's value has surged by around 60 times in the last 3 years. That's considerably faster than tulip bulbs in the 17th century, which were at one point worth 10 years of a skilled craftsman's earnings. Back then, prices were driven by greed or a fear of missing out. But as more people bought into the bulbs for quick profits, a flurry of sales collapsed the price and left many with crippling debts. Bitcoin is being called the digital tulip of the 21st century as the same pattern emerges, a fear of missing out and new investors piling in. Critics say the perceived value of the currency, like the tulip, is being conjured out of thin air. But the ever-growing army of Bitcoin believers say it's here to stay, an operational market in full flow around the clock, and new places all over the world ready to accept the cryptocurrency as payment. Even a church in London is happy to accept donations of the virtual kind. With the size of the Bitcoin market already surpassing some countries' economies, New Zealand included, influential banks are being left behind. But as history shows us, boom is usually followed by bust. So is Bitcoin about to wilt?
Despite the fear, though, some people have struck it lucky and pretty rich too with this virtual currency. The internet entrepreneurs, the Winklevoss brothers here, they're currently billionaires because of Bitcoin. This youngster, a teenager, is now a millionaire too after investing a small sum from his grandma just a few years ago. And the man who is said to have been behind Bitcoin, he reportedly holds something like $17 billion worth. Not bad, but it's not been plain sailing for everybody. In fact, there are quite a few sob stories too. We can have a look at some of them. A man threw away thousands of Bitcoin when his hard drive broke back in 2013, thinking that they were worthless, a very costly mistake. Then there was a man who paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas a few years ago, another costly purchase. And then this man was jailed for money laundering after he sold his Bitcoin to a person involved in illegal drugs. Well, for more now on the pros and cons, Neil Harvey was joined by 2 heavy hitters in the field.
I am sure that it is a bubble. In fact, it's probably the biggest bubble I've ever seen in my career as an investor. And I've seen quite a few bubbles, and I'm familiar with the psychology that surrounds them. Bitcoin took a rocket ship up, and it's going to come down even faster.
Bitcoin is not a bubble. Bitcoin actually is the pin. It's the pin that's popping the legacy financial system's bubble over printing of money, overvaluation of stocks.
The beauty of it, the supporters say, it's decentralized. It's everything that banks aren't.
No, the Bitcoin itself is not the technology. It could be the reward, but you don't need Bitcoin to have a blockchain. There are all these other cryptocurrencies that have blockchains, and they don't use Bitcoin. And you can use blockchains for anything.
Nick, what about the fact that...
If you don't have a consensus, the largest blockchain is the only one that matters. The largest blockchain is the only one that matters. The one that does the most work...
No, it doesn't.
The most people that are involved is the one that's most trustworthy. Yeah. If you can have a blockchain in your pocket and not have any consensus model or algorithm working, meaning you don't have any miners and you don't have any consensus, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a really slow database. And that's what it is.
But what is the value? What is the inherent value of a Bitcoin? What can you do with a Bitcoin to make it worth $17,000? If I have 1 Bitcoin, what can I use it for? What can I do with it?
You could buy anything, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I could buy gold at a discount. I go to Paxful.com and I could buy gold at a discount. I could buy gold at 60% off with Bitcoin.
The situation we're in now, how dangerous is it, where people are remortgaging and spending savings on Bitcoin?
Look, it is very dangerous. People have been sucked into the mania. They think they're going to get rich quick. Because right now, the only reason that people are buying Bitcoin is because the price is going up. And when it turns around, then they're going to be selling it for the same reason.